Welcome back, everybody. It's Ed Martin here. It's Eagle Countdown. Thank you for being a part of this event together. I was mentioning offline to one of our visitors here at the Phyllis Schlafly Center in Washington, D.C. We ended up with, 10,000 people views on one of the last night's Eagle Countdown. So we're excited about that. And we just had General Flynn tweet about our Eagle Countdown because we're honoring the great Sidney Powell in a few minutes. So that was exciting. But I really remember we have this Eagle Countdown because we usually have Eagle Council. In the last couple of years, we've had Eagle Council and we've had lots of great guests and great training and strategy. And one of the guys that's been very, very helpful to our Eagle leaders and to the work we're doing is Jack Posobiec. Jack is a One America News correspondent and journalist. He's also on Twitter. He uses his Twitter feed as I'd say a tool, education tool, as well as advocacy. He's a retired Navy man. He served in the Navy in the intelligence ranks in the Navy. And welcome, Jack. How are you?
Ed, appreciate you having me on. Thank you so much for putting this together. It's a really special event, and I think that Phyllis is looking down on us right now, especially in this opportune moment, as we are just about 40 days until the election with the Supreme Court vacancy, a very important vacancy. I mean, what a time for not only Americans, but also conservatives to really rise to the fore. And that's what we're seeing here in 2020. Here we are.
Exactly. We did it in 2016. But hey, before we get to more serious stuff, Jack, I can't help teasing you because if you follow Jack on Twitter as the Poso Patrol, there's all these folks he's hit 1 million followers on Twitter. It was like a sport to help him hit 1 million on Twitter, which is amazing. He's got you've got your own comic book. But Jack, I want to talk about the beard. You used to be the clean-cut, baby-faced Jack Posobiec, and now you've got this kind of, Jack Ryan-looking beard. What's going on here?
It's actually, this is something that's been a point of contention between my wife and I. So she's from Eastern Europe, where they kind of have a little different, beauty standards. So they like super straight hair. They don't like curly hair. And for men, they like them to be clean shaven. So for the past couple of years, I've always been doing the clean shaven thing. But when I was in the Intel community, I always had a beard. I mean, you should have seen me, man. I had a beard out to here. And, what can I say? When I went out to Seattle, I was actually infiltrating that Chaz autonomous zone. I was out there for several days and nights. And during that time, I grew it back out. And, since that I got home, and she said, well, if you trim it, then you can keep that. So she's kind of giving me a little step on that.
There you go. All right. Well, that's it. I'm glad to get that answer. That's a better. I don't know. That's an interesting answer. A typical Jack Posobiec. All right, Jack. Before we get to what I really want to ask you about, which is Antifa, what you've seen, I want to ask you a different question. During Eagle Countdown, we're talking about promises kept. I wrote this little booklet here, 100 promises, 100 of the top Trump promises made, promises kept. It's got Corey Lewandowski as an introduction. It's got Mike Flynn, General Flynn, as an afterword, and people can get it available on at our website at phyllisschlafly.com and other places everywhere, Amazon and all. But promises kept. Jack, you observed candidate Trump. You heard all of his campaign speeches, all his stuff. What's your favorite promise kept? What's your favorite Trump promise kept of the first term?
Yeah, for me, it's actually easy. So I remember being there in Cleveland when the president was nominated. He gave an extremely long nomination speech. And during that time, he talked about the violence on American streets. He talked about lawlessness. He talked about anarchy. He talked about groups that were organized, that were perpetuating these things. And he said that he promised to restore law and order. A lot of people actually forget that he ran as the law and order candidate back in 2016. Well, in specifically 2020, but really throughout the term, he has focused so much on law and order. And in his response to these riots, these violent riot mobs that have gone on night after night in cities like Portland, Seattle, Washington, D.C., New York City. He has been cracking down so hard on the violence. Kenosha, I just got back from Kenosha. I was there on Friday. The devastation, $50 million of damage done to downtown and uptown Kenosha. These are business areas, residential areas where this is going on. And I really applaud the president because not only has he moved forward on declaring Antifa a terrorist organization, but he's also, if you just saw even today, the Department of Justice came out, they have officially designated New York City, Portland, and Seattle as anarchist jurisdictions. And what does that mean? That means they're permitting violence and destruction of property because the official leaders there, the political leaders, are not upholding the rule of law. They're not requesting National Guard go in. They're not letting National Guard go in some cases, like New York City. And the Department of Justice is now using the power of the purse to go after these corrupted officials who refuse to protect their constituents. And keep in mind, right, let's talk about it. These are not, politically speaking, these cities don't necessarily matter for the presidential contest. New York State, Seattle is Oregon, Seattle is Washington, Portland is Oregon. These are not states that are considered, battleground territory. So these are not places where the president really needs to spend political capital in order to win the election. But he's going there and he's doing this because it is the right thing and that the rule of law, and we're talking about public safety here, right? We're talking about the basic social compact between citizens and the government. The Department of Justice is very appropriately, I think, going in and saying we are going to cut funding to cities that do not provide basic services of governance to their residents. And that doesn't matter what their political party is. It doesn't matter who they click like on Facebook. Doesn't matter who they retweet. Every American citizen is afforded the rule of law under our Constitution. And I think it's high past time that the administration is doing something about it.
We're talking with Jack Posobiec. And Jack, when we got our listeners, our viewers, they're sending us questions and comments, and people are asking, and on one of our press releases, when we said you were coming, we said, Jack will talk about fighting Antifa. And I guess 42 days left to the election. A lot of our Eagles and a lot of people that are participating now are folks that are involved. They want to be involved. They're out there. They're in the polling places. They're knocking doors. They're getting in, and they're more than maybe the average person. They're confronting Antifa or willing to. Well, talk about from the ground up in terms of fighting Antifa. What does an individual do? What should the local community be doing? How big is the threat? Where are we in this Antifa? You've been embedding or you've been infiltrating and paying attention as a journalist. Give us some concept of where Antifa is and what's happening.
Well, I think there's two basic steps there, because when you're talking about this organization, and they're a group of people, this movement, this ideology, this strain of extremism has been around since the 1930s. In some respects, it's been around since 1901. An anarcho-socialist assassinated the president of the United States, William McKinley, up in Buffalo, New York. And since that time, this violent anarcho-socialist, then anarcho-communist strain has been a force for destabilization in many countries of the world. So we're talking about they were in Russia, they were in Germany. They've come throughout the Cold War. They're now here in the United States of America. This strain of, and what it really is it's extremism to the point where they have decided that they want to check out from the normal political process. You and I might think, hey, we support a candidate or we support a position. Let's go vote for them. Let's go work the polls. Let's go put up signs and flyers. These guys, they've decided to check out of all of that. They want violence in the streets. They want riots, and they want more violence to get what they want. They think if they ratchet things up, that's the way to get their ends met. And we're seeing that in those cities I just mentioned. Defunding of the police, of course, Minneapolis, we're seeing that as well. The rioters are getting what they want. You don't appease the mob. That is how you get more of the mob. And so this organization, and I would definitely, when it comes to individuals and people asking, well, how can I help? What can I do? I say, first and foremost, if they're operating or if you see this type of activity anywhere near you, just turn around and go the other way. Just get out of there, get to a safe location, get your family to a safe location. It's not worth it. All right, that's number one. It's not worth it. Just turn the other way. That being said, if you are in a position where you see someone who's got a video of this, and if you're safe, and if you see a recording of this activity, go ahead and post it on your social media, or get it to someone like myself or a news organization that's willing to do actual journalism on these individuals like us at One America News and on these organizations, so that we can spread the word further and further. Because you've got political leaders in this country, Democrat political leaders mainly, but also some Republicans, saying that these guys don't exist, that they're a myth. Chris Wray has been trying to downplay the threat of this, and he's the Republican-appointed FBI director. When we see night after night the violence and anarchy, and that the director of the FBI is trying to say that, believe me, not your lying eyes. It's those Russians that you have to be worried about, and you have to wonder what their priorities are on this. So getting the word out is so incredibly important to what we do. When you see the articles, when you see the videos, when you see the documentaries, the work that we're doing at One America News, it's so important. And you just share it with people. You share it personally, you share it locally. You say, look, I don't care about your politics. You can say, when it comes to this issue, look, this isn't a political issue. This isn't Trump and Biden. This isn't left and right. It's America and anarchy, right? America and lawlessness. So this is something completely separate. This isn't something that should be politicized, because the minute that we start deciding that one side, a political side stands, it's kind of like how the American flag almost became politicized, right? There's certain people that won't put up the American flag because they view it as being like a right-wing thing to put up the American flag. It's not political. It's not right-wing at all. It's the American flag. It's patriotism. It's about being patriotic. It's about joining the military. I'm a veteran. My grandfather was a veteran, served in World War II under Patton. This is the country that we fight for. This is the country that we care about, that we sacrifice for. There's no politicization there. That is the fight when it comes to this group, these extremists. That extremists aren't interested in participating in that type of constitutional republic that our founders put down, that they outlined for us, they wrote for us in the Constitution, that they explained through the Federalist Papers, that they went so far for us, sacrificed so much for us. Now, instead, you have extremist organizations that, without believing, and since we are on the Eagle countdown, yeah. I think I can talk about this because look, I'm a believer, Ed. I know you're a believer. We're both Catholics. Yeah. These groups, they're nihilistic. Not only are they not believers, their only true animating force is nihilism. They believe in a force of destruction, of decay, of tearing down society. And that is why when they attack, they don't just attack Trump and Trump supporters. I mean, they certainly do, but it's quite beyond that, because they attack financial institutions, banking institutions. That's why they're against businesses. That's because they're against capitalism. But you also see them attacking religious centers. You see them attacking Christian churches, Catholic churches, tearing down statues of the Blessed Virgin Mary, going after Catholic saints like Cunipero Serra in California, going after St. Louis, right, in your hometown, St. Louis there, the statue of King St. Louis. The reason that they are going after these is because they view all of these sort of pillars of our society, religion, capitalism, the rule of law, the political structure, the Constitution. They want to get rid of all of those things. And it certainly sounds like it's this more expansive replacement theory in terms of what they want to replace it with. And that is what they believe in: a stateless, anarcho-communist society where there is no government and the only rule is the rule of power, right? So might makes right. That is the end state of postmodernism and nihilism, and that is the animating force behind them. And I really do think it's because they are seeking something in their lives. When you see the individuals who get arrested for this, we saw in New York, how many of them were actually quite affluent, from Upper East Side families, right. Parents that are professionals, they're quite wealthy, and yet their kids are the ones burning down the city, going after their own neighborhoods. You've got two lawyers throwing Molotov cocktails at a police car in New York City. What is driving all of this? And the driving factor behind all that really is nihilism. So to drive it all back, Of course, President Trump doesn't unpack it all when he talks about those things, but when he talks about law and order in the face of anarchy, that's him putting it in very simple terms, easy political terms to use in a political advertisement or to use in a marketing campaign where you're trying to get those ideas across to a mass audience, especially in our over media saturated, completely over socialized, oversaturated environment right now. That when he uses those terms, I hope that people understand that he is talking about something deeper. And the work that I do, the work that you do, Ed, such a great job of trying to unpack that for people who are interested in digging just a little bit deeper, but then also having information that they can share with their friends and loved ones about what's actually going on in this country.
Hey, Jack, we're talking with Jack Posobiec, and I wanted to tell our folks, and many folks probably that are out there, follow Jack on Twitter. He's a very active Twitter account, at Jack Posobiec. It's Posobiec. Jack, social media right now. So now we've got Antifa rioting. It's terrifying, although it looks like every day that they do it and the violence, more voters look up and say that's not the side we want to be on. But we've got election. I'm getting texts and people that are watching. We got election fraud. And you're a Philly guy. You're a Pennsylvania guy. You got already. I think one of your tweets was about one of the Philly organizations that got to start ballot harvesting. And then we've got big tech. Twitter, we got Carpe Donktum, one of the more talented guys on Twitter. He's knocked off Twitter and now he's being sued. But put all those ones aside except the social media. The thumb's on the scale, Jack, right? It's on the scale. The American people don't get to know the truth. They get it filtered by the media, the big tech media. Forget about CNN too. How are we going to beat that? I mean, there's only one Jack Posobiec. There's not 100, and there's Twitter. Jack Dorsey's that Jack Dorsey's got his thumb on the scale. Isn't that almost insurmountable?
I think there does come a point where the censorship, the historical revisionism, the gaslighting, it just reaches a fever pitch point that the American people aren't at. There's that old story about the frog in the pot, that when you bring the pot to boil, if you turn the heat up too quickly, the frog will jump out. But if you just ratchet it up a little bit at a time, the frog will stay. The temperature has been rising too high, and it's been happening like that for a long time. In fact, I say that the people that are perpetuating those things that you just outlined, they still don't quite understand why Donald Trump was elected president in the first place in 2016. Donald Trump was elected because people were sick of the establishment elites in this country, and they wanted to use, and I'll use the words of Michael Moore, a noted liberal filmmaker, documentarian. Michael Moore said, Donald Trump is like the middle class and the Midwest throwing a hand grenade at Washington, D.C. And I think that sentiment is very much still there in the United States. And I think that if Donald Trump does win a second term, it is going to be because of those very same factors.
But Jack, can you, when you say to people, you get all these young people, and not young, but activists that say, I want to be involved, and they want to go on social media, and they find that they have to fight to get the truth. One American News has been a huge deal. I think people really see that. I know the president does. I guess your point is we've got enough strength, we the people, that we're going to overcome that. I mean, it worked in 2016.
We got to stick together.
Yeah.
It's about sticking together. It's about, when you see one of your compatriots get suspended or get locked out, and you say, well, what did they get locked for? And you go see it, and it was just some joke meme or some political satire, right? Everyone has to come together to have everyone else's back. The power is through group action. The power is through groups standing together, fighting back against these liberal attack houses, these organizations that exist through nonprofit money, through liberal donors, in order to smear, attack, and censor conservatives. They are building machines to target conservatives. And the only way to fight back is if conservatives stand together, like we did for Brett Kavanaugh, like we did for Nick Sandmann, like we're going to have to do for whoever the next Supreme Court pick is. Right now, it looks like Coney Barrett, but we will see.
Yeah, I was going to ask you if you had any reporting on that. I think the president has said he'll name the nominee likely on Friday or Saturday, I guess is the word.
The latest I've heard from inside is that the discussion, that there's more discussion happening on the outside than the inside. Inside, the president thinks that Amy Coney Barrett was vetted the first time they met. He really liked her. He really liked her pedigree. He really liked her resume. He wanted to go with her for the Kennedy replacement. However, he decided to go with Brett Kavanaugh, obviously afterwards, but always planned to hold Amy Coney Barrett in reserve. And really the reason that he's mentioning Lagoa so much, Barbara Lagoa, who's the only other candidate that's in serious contention, is because the entire Florida Republican structure has from Ron DeSantis to Marco Rubio to Matt Gaetz to Rick Scott has all gone in behind Lagoa. They are calling the president, talking his ear off to talk up their judge, their pick. I completely understand that from parochialism, understand Florida. And of course, we also understand Florida's importance as sort of the ultimate swing state of this election. Probably Florida, even though I am a son of Pennsylvania, I would have to give the edge just a little bit to Florida, being as though they have 29 votes in the Electoral College. Pennsylvania has 20. That being said, I will throw this out there, that if Trump does win Pennsylvania, he wins the presidency.
Yeah. All right, Jack. I've got a question on that. Amy Coney Barrett. You watched her nomination process last time. Dianne Feinstein said this very charged comment about the dogma. Your dogma runs strong in you, to Amy Coney Barrett, because she talked about her faith and she talked about her desire to go to heaven, and they went after her. Kamala Harris went after her, has gone after the Knights of Columbus. Dick Durbin didn't. He went after. He went along the same lines. I mean, it's an extraordinary thing. And I know. You talk about important voting groups. Catholics in Pennsylvania, New Hampshire, Minnesota, Michigan. You hear I'm naming states with Democrat senators. There were a lot of senators that lost their seat in 1980 when they didn't see what was coming in terms of voters taking a chance with the Reagan onslaught, and they swept out some of the famous names. I wonder about the Coney Barrett, if the Democrats can resist this anti-Catholic slur. What's your thoughts on it?
Yeah, well, I did think it was interesting. I went back and played that Dianne Feinstein clip again this week, and they said the dogma lives loudly in you. And I understand, of course, she's speaking in a legal context from saying that. Are you saying that you're going to put church teaching ahead of the Constitution? Right? That's the question that Dianne Feinstein is trying to make. But I also, and of course, that was the answer with Amy Coney Barrett said in response to her, of course, I'm here for the law. I'm here to be a judge on this court. That being said, speaking personally as a Catholic, if anyone were ever to say to me that the dogma lives loudly in you, I mean, you have to take that as a compliment, right? So, well, thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah, exactly.
We're always striving to live up to the ideals of our religion, and nobody is perfect. This is endemic to all Christianity, not just Catholicism, but the idea that as humans, we're flawed, we're born with original sin, and it is through coming to Christ and following his teachings that we can strive to enter heaven, enter the kingdom of God, right? It's right in the Our Father. So they were also attacking her for using the phrase kingdom of God. I say, that's actually a reference to the Our Father, right? Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, right? Say it, every time I'm up to Ed. And by the way, Ed, I got to tell you, past month, I'm up to a month now of saying the rosary every single day.
Wow. That's very good. The late Phyllis Schlafly, one of her secrets, she said, of the ERA fight was she herself said that every day. The rosary, there was a group of them that said it every day. So that's powerful. That's good. Well,
it's 20 minutes of your day, Ed. It's 20 minutes of your day. You got 20 minutes.
I got 20 minutes. That's right. I do have 20 minutes. I already do that, Jack. I've done it for longer than a month. So, but
okay. Well, to the viewers out there, of course, far be it for me to question that, Mark. But in general, I think it's great that it is just 20 minutes of your day. It's something that you can do, and I loved how faith-based this past RNC was. We saw Abby Johnson up there with her incredible speech on the pro-life movement. She didn't hold anything back, as we all know. We had the sister up there. She's holding up that rosary saying, "This is our weapon of choice." And then the entire event ended with fireworks from the White House and that Italian opera singer singing Ave Maria, Hail Mary, from the balcony of the White House.
Yeah, it was.
Needless to say, you would not see that from a Joe Biden administration.
No, I don't think that would be. I don't think that would be allowed. All right, Jack Posobiec at Jack Posobiec on Twitter. Thanks, Jack, for taking time out. I know you're a busy guy with the TV as well as your journalism out in the field, and even more importantly, you've got a young family. So thank you for taking the time with us. And at Jack Posobiec on Twitter, and we'll visit again, I'm sure, in lots of other ways. And watch Jack on One America News. Thank you, sir.
God bless Ed, and God bless to all the Eagles out there.
Okay, thank you, Jack Posobiec. Really, guys, it's one of the most valuable Twitter feeds you see there, and everybody follows him now. Everybody tracks him. The president retweets him all the time. And for a few years now, he's been coming to our Eagle Councils and to our events in Washington when he's here to give us counsel. Very savvy guy, so that was great. We appreciate it very much. All right, we're going to